Welcome to the first experiment in my series called Unexpected Materials. So this idea came to me because I was explaining in the It Takes Two virtual sewing workshop the fabric recommendations for that pattern. And if you're unfamiliar with that pattern, it has a style line that goes across the body and separates the garment into two separate areas defined by a different color or a different fabric. And so I was trying to explain that the pattern works best with fabrics that are the same, so it should react the same and drape the same and kind of hang the same way, wash the same way. That will result in the most balanced garment. And as I was describing this, I was giving an example of maybe what not to use. For example, if you use like a denim twill for color A and then you use a kind of drapey silk charmeuse for color B, the garment might be incredible and super cool. I mean, that sounds awesome, but it's going to be a very different garment than what the original design looks like. And so that led me to this idea that we as sewing pattern designers give so much input into what we suggest you use the pattern for, but at the end of the day, the sky is the limit, and the fabric recommendations that are included in a sewing pattern, they're a guide to help you to achieve the specific output that the pattern was initially designed for, and to help you mimic as best as possible what you're seeing in those product images. But there's a flip side. What if the pattern is truly just the blueprint that it is, and you actually use the pattern in a completely different way than what it was initially intended? You get a completely different garment out of it, and it could be really cool. Sometimes it might not work, and sometimes that is why we give the recommendations that we do as pattern designers, because we want you to be successful and we want you to have the best possible outcome for your project. But if you're willing to take a risk, then you might see some incredible results. So that is what this series is all about. It is about playing, and it is about experimenting, and it is about seeing what is possible if you use something unexpected. So in this first experiment, I am going to use the Cinch Me I'm Dreaming dress. It is a sewing pattern that comes with both a short sleeve and a long sleeve, and then a short hem and a longer hem. So I'm going to use the longer sleeve and the longer hem, and I'm going to make this dress out of denim. But I'm not making a dress. I'm going to make a jacket. So in this video, I am going to take you through the process of using one of my sewing patterns with a material that is not necessarily recommended in the fabric recommendation section of the pattern. So I truly have no idea if this is going to work or not, but I have an idea in my head, I want to sketch it, and I want to make it. Okay, let's get to it. I don't really want to hack this pattern too much. What I want to do is I actually want to just add a center front placket so that it can become a big oversized denim jacket kind of dress type thing. And then I'm going to just eliminate the ruching, which is an option anyways in the pattern. And so for the denim version, I'm just not going to feed anything through the channels. I'm just going to keep those lines as style lines and do like denim top stitching on these sections, these seams. I think it will look cool. I think it will look more like structural. Now that I'm kind of ready to make my pattern adjustments and prepare my fabric, I am just gonna come over to Pinterest and kind of see if my idea makes sense and that it's gonna look good. I think this is honestly quite similar to how oversized I think the garment is going to be, and this also is closer to what I'm picturing doing with the dark denim and the top stitching color. The V-neck vibe of it, and then the top stitching detail that goes all the way down along the center front and making it look very much like this almost kimono style jacket. This is kind of also what I was thinking, is that it is this styling piece and it would look really cool just being open all the way down. This is kind of exactly what I think the button band will look like, which is actually getting me to think, like, should I be using proper denim buttons? For denim, especially for this kind of dark wash denim, I like to pre-soak it before I even wash it so that it can reduce the amount of kind of streaking that happens that you might be familiar with if you've ever tried to sew with dark denim. I always recommend to pre-soak it before putting it into your washing machine so that it gets evenly wet all at the same time, and you kind of can get all of that like indigo dye runoff before throwing it into your washing machine. So I made my pattern adjustments on Illustrator, and I have laid out my pattern on the exact fabric width and length I have because I have very little denim fabric available. I actually made a more detailed video for the pattern adjustments. If you are interested in following along and making your own version of this pattern hack, then I definitely recommend checking out that video. It is available in my post on Substack that is all about the Cinch Me I'm Dreaming denim jacket hack, and you can find my Substack at Unexpected Materials. I will link it in the description of this video. So it is officially day 3 of working on this project. I am ready to start sewing. I am going to follow the instructions from the actual PDF sewing pattern as closely as possible and just make adjustments where needed for either the fabric type because it's heavier or because I am making a split front, a center front with a button band. So obviously that construction will be slightly different because it's a slightly hacked version of the pattern. Okay, so a little check-in. I have done the inseam pockets using the overlock or zigzag stitch instructions. And you can see on the outside, it's like completely invisible, which looks so nice in the denim. I chose to use denim for the back pocket, the back side of the pocket, but then just scrap stripe cotton for the front side of the pocket so that there's not quite so much bulk. The only difference I did for my method of construction rather than the instruction booklet was that you're supposed to leave a little opening in the side seam up here for the drawstrings in the dress. I'm not going to leave any openings in any of the side seams because I'm not going to insert any drawstrings. But so far, so good. Very happy with my pockets. So in the instructions, it's written to actually do this kind of edge stitching along the side seams to secure them flat open. So instead of doing a an edge stitch from the inside. I just did a top stitch with top stitching thread from the outside. So that will be my method for this entire denim jacket. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so I just finished sewing up all of the side seams for each section of the dress jacket. So here's the very bottom panel. It's going to be super wide for a jacket. It's going to be quite a dramatic piece. And then we've got our mid-tier here and our upper tier here. And then this is the bodice, the uppermost piece that will be here. So now I'm going to assemble the sleeves. The sleeves are going to have a little bit of extra top stitching. I'm going to add a row of top stitching to the dart, and I'm going to add a row of top stitching to the outside side seam of the sleeves because I think it'll look nice and accentuate the design and construction elements even more. And then the cuff piece is going to be a outer piece and an inner piece rather than finishing it with a bias binding. So I'll show you how that goes. Got my two sleeves done, and this was sewn exactly as instructed in the instruction booklet, except for I added the edge stitching using a top stitching thread along the outer seam just to add a little bit more flare, and the edge stitching along the dart as well on the front. And normally I would finish the hem at the end when I'm doing the bias binding, but I think it might be easier to finish the cuff with the denim now rather than once everything's constructed, because I know this is probably going to get a bit cumbersome to work with under the machine. Quite a lot of denim. The plan is to treat these as just like an inner cuff. This was just an extra 2 pieces of the long sleeve cuff pattern piece, and so I'm just going to sew it with 1/2 inch along this short edge, so just folding it right sides together like that. So 1/2 inch here, and then I can attach it at the very hem and fold it to the inside. So I just finished the neckline, which is going to be the button band for this version, and it was constructed the exact same way that it is written in the instruction booklet. So to attach the inner neckline and the outer neckline, I just sew them together and then press the seam allowances towards the inner neckline. And then I just sewed an edge stitch, which is the understitch, so that the inner neckline stays towards the inside. And now I'm just going to set this aside for later. I'm going to just attach all of the tiers next. So this is the upper mid-tier piece. I'm just going to bring it right sides together with the upper bodice piece. I'm going to sew those together with 1/2 inch seam allowance and then just finish the edges with a serger. Then I will just press the seam allowances, I think, down, and then I'm just going to do some top stitching. I think a double row of top stitching to have that kind of like denim effect. But that's going to be the assembly for the rest of the dress, is just going to be attaching each tier with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and then finishing the raw edges with an overlock or a zigzag stitch, and then top stitching to have that denim effect. I sewed as late as I could last night, but I just got too tired to finish, so it is the next day, and I am hoping that I can actually finish sewing almost everything. I am heading to the New York City Garment District. I have to be there at 4 for a fitting with one of the pattern makers I'm working with, and I want to see if I can get the buttonholes and the jean button tacks put in with the professional services in the garment district, which is where I used to go take samples all the time when I was working in the industry and working for designers. That's where you would bring your garments to get the finishing touches done. Anyways, if I can finish it in time, then I will finish those little details in the garment district. This is where I got to last night. I really like how the double row of top stitching is looking. It's just looking really cool and so sculptural, which I really love, and I think that's what I was looking for, to kind of like show how making a dress pattern that was designed for woven fabrics that kind of drape beautifully and cinch up around the waist, making that kind of pattern in a completely different fabric gives you just a completely different silhouette and just a different garment entirely. I just think that's something really cool to play with and kind of the whole point of this series. So, yay. I am in love with this silhouette. I mean, it is so dramatic and amazing, and I think I'm gonna wear this like a lot in the spring and the fall. I think it is turning out so cool. Like, it feels very elevated and like designer to me. I should try and finish the button band so that I can get those buttonholes and buttons put on right away and call it done. But yeah, here's the full-length view that I was having trouble capturing without turning the camera to be portrait. It is the next day and I am ready to finish this project. It is so close to being done and it looks amazing. I'm just kind of like shocked at how close it looks to what I pictured it looking like. I just have a couple things to finish. So here's the basting stitch. I just need to remove that blue line, and then the button band is top stitched or edge stitched on this side to secure it into place. I think I'm going to add a line of top stitching along this outside edge. Remove basting stitches, add one more top stitching line on the button band, and finish the hem. And then I think I'm done. For the hem, because the button band is so thick in the areas with the seam allowances, and I think folding and folding will just be a nightmare for my machine. I mean, I don't think it can go through that many layers. I think I'm going to use a bias binding technique. I have some leftover bias tape of this stripe fabric that I used for inside the pockets. And so I think I might just use bias tape along the hem and finish it that way. I think that's gonna be the easiest way to do it. Okay, let's go finish. This is probably one of my favorite pieces that I've made in recent years. I just love how it turned out. I loved the concept and the process and the execution. I just thought it was a really cool project with an amazing result. I shared more final thoughts, nitty-gritty details over on Substack if you are interested in following along with the pattern adjustments that I made, the videos over there. And if you want more of my kind of analysis, then I wrote about it on my Substack, which can be found at House of Izzy, and my publication is Unexpected Materials. If you are interested in the pattern, either to make a dress as it was originally intended or to make a denim jacket like I did in this video, then the pattern is available on my website, so I will link that in the caption below. So this was just experiment 1 for this Unexpected Materials series. I have a few more ideas for sewing patterns and fabric pairings that are unexpected, but if you have any ideas for me, then I would love to hear what they are. Leave them in the comments below and I will definitely take note and think about how I can make that happen. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, share, do all the, good things that help my channel grow, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, keep sewing, keep creating. Have a good day. Bye.